Good morning. I'm on 70 between Kansas City and St. Louis heading east. You're going to see a truck pass me, and a license plate on the back says Pouvoir. Ready? Here we go. Black car. Pouvoir. P-O-U-V-O-I-R. It's a French word, and it means power. What have I always said? It's all about power. So, what am I doing? Why this plate? Why this word? Well, the reason is that this is a battle for power between good and evil. I'm going to let him get back over, and then maybe I'll zoom in on that word. It's a battle between good and evil for who's going to have pouvoir, who's going to have power. That's what we're talking about. So now I'm going to get back to driving the car and just talking. This is what the Lord does. This is what the Father does. HAYAH does for me through His Spirit. The HAYAH, the breath of HAYAH. HAYAH is the name that Moses wrote down in Exodus 3:14 as Aleph, Hey, Yod, Hey. And you can see that in a Dead Sea Scroll on my oldest TikTok. Just scroll on back there to my oldest one, and there's a young lady said there's no historical evidence for the name HAYAH. Well, no, there isn't for HAYAH because it's not pronounced HAYAH. It's pronounced HAYAH. And that has tremendous historical evidence, including 170 names that have that two-syllable sound of HAYAH. Jeremiah, Obadiah, all these biblical names. So, again, the fathers of Israel, they knew the name of their God. And they put that two-syllable sound of their God's name on their children. And because they did that, it has stayed available to us for centuries, even though they tried to hide it back in the days of Jeremiah, thousands of years after Moses. They sought to hide his name. Jeremiah 23, verse 25 through 27. They created a dream. They dreamt a dream such to cause his people to forget his name. It's a struggle for pouvoir. It's a struggle for power. Am I changing? Am I changing the scriptures at all? No. What I'm doing is providing a translation, a transliteration, so that you understand what those words sounded like. Not what they meant. That's translation. I misspoke. I'm providing a transliteration, such that you can hear and understand and be able to speak the name of God properly. This name of God. Does God have more than one name? Yeah, I've had a lot of people come, well, his name's El Shaddai, and his name... No, those are things that he's called. And he has said by his name, Yod He Vav He. But when we look at Yod He Vav He, I believe it's 3068 in the Strong's Concordance. When we look at that entry for Yod He Vav He, we find that the root verb, the root word of that name is HAYAH. That name comes from HAYAH. And the verb HAYAH comes from God's name, HAYAH. They both share the same root, but the name HAYAH is 75% HAYAH, the verb. And when Jesus said, I tell you, before Abraham was, I am, he would have spoken that name, HAYAH, but he would have spoken it as a verb, HAYAH. Are you getting where I'm going? This name is the Father's name as written by Moses. Let's go back to Moses, discover the Father's name, use it as the Rosetta Stone such that we can then pronounce other names, like the name of Hayahsu, Bar-ayah, the Messayah, the Hayhavah of HAYAH. All these words gain their proper pronunciation through that one name, HAYAH. This is why they wanted it hidden, because there is power in the name of Jesus. Not just the name Jesus, but the name of Jesus, which is his entire name. If I asked you your name and you told me it was Betty, and I looked at your birth certificate and saw that it's actually Betty Jean Meyer, then You wouldn't have given me your full name. You would have given me what you are called. You would be called Betty. Jesus was called Emmanuel, but that was not his name. And they will call him God with us. They will call him Emmanuel, but it's not his name. When Jesus spoke to Peter and said, "Who do you say that I am?" And Peter said, "You are the Christ." Peter would have used the word Messayah. You're the Messayah, the anointed of HAYAH. And he said, Peter. No, he didn't say Peter. What did he say? He said, Simon Bar Jonah. Simon Bar Jonah, flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. Simon Bar Jonah, Simon son of Jonah. What does that make Jesus? It makes him, however we pronounce his first name, Bar HAYAH, son of HAYAH. That name, Bar HAYAH, is a name that he was given that is greater than any other name, the Father's name. And because it is the name that is greater than any other name, the Father's name, at that name, Hayahsu, his first name, Bar HAYAH, his second and his last name, at that name, every knee will bow and tongue confess that Jesus is Lord, Hayhavah. To the glory of who? To the glory of God the Father, whose name is what? HAYAH. When speaking his full name, you know who his father is. His father is HAYAH, Hayahsu Bar HAYAH, Simon Bar Jonah. No one ever told us Peter's father's name until then, and we know Peter's father's name is Jonah. We know Jesus' father's name is HAYAH. And in John 12:28, go look it up. In John 12:28, it was the desire of Christ, it was the desire of the Messayah to glorify the Father's name. Father, glorify thy name. Not his own name. Glorify thy name, Father. And the Father spoke from heaven and said, I have glorified it and will glorify it again. I tell you today in 2023, his name, HAYAH, is being glorified again. He is accomplishing his word right now. That in itself is a miracle. If you want miracles, don't look for things dropping out of the sky. Look to the word and see it being fulfilled. Look at the word and see that these scriptures that were written thousands of years ago are happening right now in front of your eyes. And all you have to do is look to the word. And all you should do is look to the word. Don't look to anything else. Look at the word and say, is this true? Is this happening? Fathers to the children to the fathers. Malachi 4:6. Is there someone who has come who is telling you, look at the fathers of Israel. Consider what they did with their children's names. Turn your hearts to these men, and then turn your hearts to the children and ask, why did they do this? Because they knew the name of their God, and they loved the name of their God, and they loved their God, and they put his name on their children. This verse is being fulfilled right now. That's miracle number 2. How many miracles is it going to take? God said he's going to turn to them a pure language. What is this that's being taught right now but a pure language? HAYAH, one word, absolutely pure. We know the pronunciation because it's been on the children's names for thousands of years. There's no argument that can be given against 170 witnesses repeated through time across nation after nation after nation for 4,000 years that says HAYAH is the name that was placed on the children in obedience to Numbers 6:27, as God himself spoke to Moses. HAYAH, HAYAH, HAYAH. That is the name of the Father. That is also the name of the Son. That is also the name of the Spirit and the name of Hayahava. Hayahava, me being. Yod, He, Vav, He. Yod begins Isaac. Yod begins Isaiah. Yod begins Jesus. Well, wait a second, that doesn't make sense. If Yod is the sound of Isaiah and Yod is the sound of Isaac, then why isn't Yod the I sound of Hayahsu? It is if you pronounce his name this way. It's all about the pronunciations. A pure language requires proper pronunciation, and that proper pronunciation has to come from somewhere, and it comes from this one single name that has been held in safety against those who would hide it for year upon year upon year upon year. Open up a Strong's Concordance and look up the word, the name that Moses wrote in Exodus 3:14, that's shown in that Dead Sea Scroll. Aleph, Hey, Yod, Hey. Find me that verb. Find me that name. Find me that name. The verb is in the Strong's Concordance. The verb is Hey, Yod, Hey. But the name, Aleph, Hey, Yod, Hey, is missing. The one word missing from the Strong's Concordance is his name. You tell me they're not trying to hide his name. I tell you they're trying to hide his name. Jeremiah 23:25 through 27. And it's still happening. Time's up. Time's up. Someone has come to preach his name, to teach this language, so we can be one people in one language and nothing will be beyond our capability. I tell you, God is doing a new thing. Don't look back to the old things simply to repeat the old things for their own sake, but look forward to what those things point to. The rapture is the second Exodus of the second Moses. He sent one Moses with a name and a plan. He's sending another with a name and a plan. And the plan is to speak his name at a particular time, such to honor him and glorify him, and fulfill this new thing that the Lord is doing. I tell you, read verse 21 from where this new thing is mentioned in his word. Look it up. Do a little search. Find what you need. When you read verse 21, you'll know what I'm talking about. God bless and take care.